that back up. Oi, Surya. Okay, we are live. Oi, Surya. Start. फीडबैक आ रहा है ना?
जी एक्चुअली वो लोग का माइक चालू है ना, इसकी वजह से डिस्टर्ब हो रहा है।
सुनीता
इसका माइक म्यूट करना।
सुनीता Hi everyone. So welcome to live interaction session 2. So we will today follow the same process. All of us are here, all 4 of the team members. Professor Sahana Murthy, Vidita Shah, we have Sunita and Lucian with us. So we go through the answers. So the questions that we have received on the Google Forms by you, and it's going to be an interactive session. So you're welcome to pitch in and answer to questions posed by your peers. And if there is some time, then we'll go through some interesting questions, conversations that we have that have been raised on the discussion forum. So moving on to the queries that we have received on the Google form. The first one is from our learner, where he has asked that how can we access the hyperlinks seen within the video presentation. So I'm not sure about the question, but I think it means that you want to access the hyperlink that is in a video. So there is no direct way to do it. You may have the hyperlink in the description of the video, or if it is a YouTube video, then you sometimes it suggests the hyperlink, the link at a particular time. If nothing is working, then there are software apps which convert text image into text. So you can probably try that.
If it's our own videos, we could perhaps just post it, because we have a slide.
Right.
We can just put it in the forum or below the video.
Right.
If possible. We can.
Right. So let us know if it is one of our videos that you're talking about. Let us know.
Yeah. I think we have some as references, in module 3, in week 3.
Right.
Especially when we were talking of simulations and all.
Right.
So we can also just go through it and.
Right. So let us know.
If you are creating these videos, you'll see a lot of some YouTube presenters do this. They'll say that the links are below. They just post it in the description. So if you're creating it, you can do it as in if you're directly uploading it to YouTube. But ours is sort of through the NPTEL channel and all. I think the easiest for us to do for our own videos is the forums.
Yeah, we can put it
just
on the forum.
Collate it and
The next question is from Bharta. She is asking about examination, if it can be held online mode. I have told on the discussion forum once that since it's a proctored exam, decision taken by Swayam, it's not really up to us, but you can probably contact NPTEL team. The support information is there, and ask if something can be done. The next question is from our learner Rosina George, who's asking about some interactive tools for making your videos interactive. So we did discuss this last time about some software and tools. So maybe Sunita, if you can just quickly go through the interactive video tab about how to make your videos
Sure,
interactive.
sure, Vinita, ma'am, I'll do that. So, in the last session of our live interaction one, we had discussed about some of the tools which can be used for making the interactive videos, and some of them have been enlisted in the table. So, H5P is the one that we have also talked about in our modules of this course. So, H5P is one platform which can be used for making interactive videos. Apart from that, Genially is another such platform where you can make interactive videos, and Liveboard Interactive Whiteboard app is an app for Android which can be used for conducting live sessions as well as creating interactive sessions. So you can go through these platforms. They give you an option of embedding the video directly from YouTube, or you can upload your own video provided it has a precise size. So H5P cannot take a video which has more than 16 MB of size. So that is one constraint if you're uploading a separate video, or if you're not directly embedding a link from YouTube. If you're directly embedding a link from YouTube, it becomes easier in H5P because you just have to put in the link and you get going with adding the reflection spots that you want to be in your interactive video. So that's one way of doing it. Similarly, in Genially, what you can do is you can either upload your video or you can create video presentations. So in video presentations in Genially, it provides you certain templates. You can use those templates and you can make it interactive by adding the interactivity features which are given on the interface. So the interface has provided certain features like adding interactive symbols or adding some hyperlinks. So that can be done using Genially. We'll be providing the link to these softwares and you can try those out. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sunita. So I'll just take the live question here by Ruchika, who's asking how I want to know how many assignments do I need to submit on the whole, as I was unable to submit first two assignments. So I there are every week has three different kinds of assignments. There is assimilation quiz, there is reflection quiz, and there is knowledge quiz, and these assignments are graded. So if your question is that you have not been able to submit any of these assignments for 2 weeks, then I think I'll have to get back to you.
Total is 25% weightage, no?
Right,
For the
right.
Yeah, so for the in-semester assignments, the total weightage towards your final credit, final passing is 25% marks,
Right.
or the weightage. So it's not like a per assignment basis, but it's more about the total marks you get. What we can suggest is you definitely do weeks 3 and 4. Do you want to take it up as an exception?
We'll have to ask the NPTEL team. I read where that they are not extending.
They're not
Mm,
extending.
yeah.
So we'll do one thing. We'll check if extensions are possible. It's handled by the central NPTEL team. If it is, we'll keep the earlier assignments open for 2 days for everyone. Just kind of
Right.
like a catch-up thing. But individual exceptions are a little difficult because you understand this is a MOOC. It has a few thousand learners, and there are several MOOCs and all that. But we think that even if you go ahead and submit weeks 3 and 4, it should be fine.
Yeah. So we'll get back to you on that. The second question was by Vidya Sagar, who is also asking about the same thing. So we'll let you know. Um,
Bharti from the NPTEL team has given a response here that out of 4, best 3 out of 4 is required for the evaluation. So if you've missed one, you can kind of take the other 3 as, and those will be counted.
Shubhamkar is asking, is there any online freelancing platform where we can get work like content development. I'm sure there is, there will be, right?
There are these groups and mailing lists and all, especially in these times. I think there are lots of it. Personally, I'm not aware of it. Lucy and Sunita, are you aware of any sort of a mailing list or maybe a Facebook group where people offer services that look, we can do some freelance content development?
No, not really, ma'am. I have not come across those, but I'm sure they might be existing. And therefore, if they are there, would always encourage members to be able to participate and be able to learn from them as well. I have not seen any, but I'm sure they must be existing.
Yeah. Shubhamkar, here is a suggestion. Okay, I don't think personally we have that information with us right now, but post it on the forum, and if any of the other participants of the course know of it, they can also respond. And in the meantime, our team will think about it a little. We do work with people from edtech industry and all, so we'll also try to get some information. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if we'll be able to get it before the end of the course, but this is really one question which is useful to put out there.
Yeah, and I don't remember the name of the learner, but there was one learner who was talking about content development, and he had mentioned that he's doing some authoring something, and I had asked him to put on screenshots. So he has provided some details, but I don't remember the name. So yeah, as ma'am said, put out the question on the discussion forum, and somebody would probably.
So we're assuming you want to do something, offer your services in this regard, and that's why you're asking. Yeah.
Okay. As you mentioned regarding extension of assignment, I think it is not possible as key solutions are already released. Yes. For week one and
week one definitely. I remember week two is also
week
released.
2 is also
but if it's week 3, that's
yeah. Thank you for reminding that.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll go ahead with our other queries that have come up on the Google form. So this one is from Vidya Sagar Kumar, who is asking about attracting some learners in the class who are less attentive. Even if all the engagement is there, the ways in which motivation can be enhanced. Can we use some examination oriented techniques? So I think we covered this a little last time where we were talking about, motivation, internal motivation. Here you're talking about examination, being the motivation. So definitely you can add formative assessment with, small credits, grades associated, and, let them provide content which can provide inner motivation, like connection to prior knowledge, constructing their own understanding, group work. So these are some of the ways that you can think of. Anything else from anybody?
Yeah. Lucian, have you tried anything in your courses?
Not really. Mostly what we do is to be able to provide engagement, to engage learners. We can do that by engaging them in terms of creating breakout rooms, if the platform does allow you to do that. And that can be able to allow group work and activities to be done. And therefore, you can expect at least many of them to be able to participate in the process. Right. But what we do also, if you're using some tools like maybe Mentimeter, you can be able to engage them in many ways by providing some polls where they can be able to respond to some of the questions that you might have set. And therefore, based on the response you get, you can be able to get a feedback whether your students are engaged or they are attentive or they are following up your sessions as well. So there are also other many ways you can be able to do, including maybe prompting them to be able to respond to questions, probably if you're using platforms like Zoom or Microsoft Meet, Teams, where they can be able to respond based on the questions you're posing up. So you try as much as possible to make them reflect on what you are learning, and therefore by sharing what they are actually gaining based on their activities. If you leave them not with activities or something to do, automatically they might be disengaged or doing something that you might expect. Thank you.
See, this first bullet that's there on the slide that have some formative assessment with a small credit or a small grade. If you want something which is exam oriented, you can consider that. In the sense, it's a little more than giving marks for attendance. It's like saying, here is a question. If you answer it, doesn't matter so much if it's right or wrong, you'll get a small grade. Now the logistics, you're right, you have to manage. Either you have to use some external software like which in real time tracks who has answered, who's not answered, or there can be a question in the forum which they have to submit, within some specified time after the live session. So you can play with some of these. But having said that, no, this is a challenge for all of us. I mean, one thing is, one reason they may be less attentive is they may just be sheer exhausted. And that is happening with a lot of students because they have 5 or 6 courses and there are live interactions back to back. And we also know that it's really exhausting to speak to a blank screen like this. So I think we just have to accept that, this semester, this year is going to have a lot of these challenges and try some of these different strategies that were discussed earlier in the course or what Lucien and Vinita just said. Yeah, that's all I can say.
Okay. Moving on. It's an interesting question and it keeps coming up, Can technology replace teachers? This is one of the queries from a learner on the forum, and a similar question was raised by another learner who says that still many of my colleagues are struggling with digital platform, and do we actually need to imbibe these ICT skills in our teaching methods? So the simple answer is yes. We need to evolve with our teaching practices. But from here on, I will let you be in charge.
You can, those bullets you can say whatever.
So,
I have something else to say.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So, of course, we don't want to be in 20th century for any field of study. So, not for teaching practices as well. And to be relevant, and become a 21st century teacher, we need to acknowledge that teachers are only facilitators of knowledge because it's all out there. And the learner centricity that is the core of this particular course as well needs to be given focus. Okay, so here are 3 bullet points on how to stay relevant as a teacher. We need to upgrade our knowledge continuously. We need to know what students have access to and what are their challenges. And we need to contextualize the topic of study for our students. I have put in this particular comment from one of the learners, which I really liked. And this was on the same question that he had written, that we as teachers have to be relevant. And how can we be relevant? In two ways. One is the knowledge, and then how to deliver that knowledge. So he has talked about how he has taken some courses and what kind of requirements are being met. So I think it's great that you're doing it, and it's inspiring. But yeah.
Can you put back the question? Yeah. So, I would reframe this question a bit, because if you ask, when you say, can technology replace teachers? It's a very broad, it's a very gross question, it comprises a lot of things. So, as a teacher, if you think what are the various aspects of teaching, there are many things that come up. Some of it, in fact, is better outsourced or better offloaded to the technology. So what Vinita talked about, information, the World Wide Web is a much better source of core information than an individual human being. So using technology, exploiting technology to help learners access information is in fact something, it's a good thing, because now the information is no longer within one or a few human beings, it's actually distributed, it's out there. On the other hand, the parts of teaching, there are parts of teaching like helping students assimilate, contextualizing them, and also a lot of the motivational aspects, for example, not the transactional aspects, but a lot of things where it's a relation between two human beings, right? And there's so many roles that the teacher plays and so many things that the learner has to learn. So those things you can't outsource, but the way you may want to reframe the question is, how can technology aid the teachers to enhance teaching and learning? Reframe the question and see what answers you get there. So it's a broad question, so the answer was also very broad. Let's go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So, do we have any question there? We have a question from Dr. Subhashini. Maybe the content can be rearranged in a way to include some previous year questions, and after explaining one concept, the student can be asked to solve the related question which has been asked.
This was related to the question about motivating learners in online classes.
Okay.
Because it came just when we were talking about
all right. So it's a comment. Okay, thank you for that. We have another question from Vishwesh. After the situation comes to normal, what should be the ideal percentage of e-learning along with traditional lectures methods in your view? I think
that's the same topic that you've put up on slide.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was saving this for you. But I think it's not to be told. I think you as teachers will yourself not leave behind e-learning after going through whatever 1 year of e-learning, after learning that how technology can actually aid in effective learning. I don't think that education will completely go back to face-to-face after this phase, and it should not. But
well, actually, I have a short answer that I agree with your point that a combination of classroom and online learning with benefits from both is a good thing. And like Vinita said, as a teacher, if you've experienced benefits from the online mode also, we all want to use that and imbibe that and grow in that direction. Regarding percentage, the question that was there on the chat, I don't think that question can be answered by anybody. I mean, suppose I say 73-27. I just pull out a number. Okay, suppose I say that. What does it even mean? I don't know what it means even for myself, let alone for somebody else's class. So some judicious mix. It has a lot of factors will affect it. I think the better question to ask is what factors will influence it. The context will, what is the COVID situation, for example, might influence it. Are your students, do they have infrastructure access, or are they able to come to class? So a lot of these operational issues are there. Issues related to your college or your institute's policies. That is one factor. And then, of course, the factors related to the topic, the size of the class, the pedagogical strategies you use. So there are a lot of these factors. At the end of the day, the way the question on the slide is framed, the phrase I'm picking up is benefits from both. So analyze what are the benefits from each of them and find ways to combine it. And I think what you will see, so there's a word for this, okay? There's a technical phrase. It's called blended learning. Of course, that also means a lot of other things. But one meaning of blended is it's a combination of some face-to-face and some online teaching and learning. So look up the best practices in blended learning, where it's good to do a particular topic or particular type of problem in the face-to-face mode, where it's good to do in the online mode, and so on. Yeah.
Okay. Is about students having inhibition to join on any open source platform. So I don't know what these inhibitions are. Maybe you can talk to them what these inhibitions are. Is this motivational challenge, or is this connected to our next question that is on security? One sec. Okay. Students are facing some space and security issues for lots of online free software that we have to use online teaching and all of the software that you have suggested. So yes, there are security issues. Even the best of software like MS Teams, there are security issues. There are lapses. Uh, but I don't know. I personally don't have an answer what we can do about it. There are ways to close those lapses, but we should know about them. Other than that, inhibition.
There are space issues also. So Lucien, do you want to quickly talk about Handbrake and how to handle the space issues? Space as in the amount of memory or hard drive space that people have, or access to some cloud storage space.
Can you repeat, ma'am? I couldn't hear you well.
Okay. So this question related to storage space issues for students, in the sense, if a video is has a file size is very large.
Okay, all right. So I think in the first place, when we are creating our content, what we have to do, we have to know that the spaces that we're going to store the videos are limited. And therefore, if, for instance, we are creating a video which is maybe 100 megabytes or 200 megabytes, the first step you can do is actually to be able to compress it or reduce the size. So you can be able to do this by using some different tools, some of which we have already introduced them. And one of them, for instance, could be like Handbrake or InShot, which are video editing tools that can be able to allow you to compress all the content that you have. Likewise, whenever you are creating other content like videos, I mean like maybe PowerPoint presentations or PDF documents, remember always to be aware of the size of the content as well, so that whenever you're uploading it on a platform, it becomes much more easier to be accessed by your students. Because in most cases, when we're using our institutional platforms like Moodle, this will be limited as well in terms of space. You cannot be able to upload a video of 200 megabytes or 300 megabytes onto an institutional platform. And therefore, what is important is actually to be able to remember to compress the content that you have into a space, into a storage that can be easily manipulated. But again, in some cases, whenever you cannot be able to install, to upload the content on your platform, you can always upload the content on other platforms like maybe YouTube if it's a video, or maybe on Google Drive if it is a document, a small document, so that you can be able to point links into the course, and then the students can be able to move on their own later on. So I thought of thinking of how you can be able to compress the videos or the content so that it becomes much more easier to handle in your online classes. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Lucien. So there are a lot of things that as the designers or as the teachers you can do. Some of these may have to be addressed again at the policy level, say at the college level. For example, if the entire college is moving towards online classes, can they make available some cloud storage for all the faculty and all the students? So if you are part of the management or a senior instructor, senior faculty member in a college, and you feel that at least this year, but maybe even in the medium to long term, your institution is moving more and more towards online learning, this is an issue that will have to be handled. The good thing is, at an institutional level, cloud storage and all is these days, it's more mainstream, it's more common, and it's not going to break the bank. It does require some cost, but that will have to be factored in at the institutional level. So some policy, some institutional help might be required if this is happening across the courses.
Yeah. So moving on.
Yeah, this Vanita's question we had taken earlier. The tools.
So we have talked about interactive tools and tools for interactive sessions. So this live session will be posted on the course. So probably you can have a look at that. Dr. Subhashini says, may I request you to talk something on flipped learning?
Do you have anything later? Or
no, I don't have.
You want to take it now? Or we can talk a little, but you say when.
You can talk now. Yeah.
Me?
Okay, so I'll start. Flip learning in synchronous mode can be you provide some content. It can be a video content or reading. And then you ask your learners to come to the class, an asynchronous class, where you discuss that content, which can be a video or reading assignment. And you can go about doing flip learning in a variety of ways. You can have discussion on the queries they had. You can probably ask them to have a debate on it and then see where the misconceptions lie. You can give them a group activity and then go to different groups and see how much they have understood. And the point is for you to make the learners go through the content before they enter the class, and you spending time on the discussion of the content, not entirely on starting from scratch. So they have a basic understanding. You try to get to know where they lack their understanding and try to fill in those gaps.
Why don't we just go round the table for this one? Sure. Sunita, any one thing you want to say about flipped learning? And then Lucien, and then I'll go last. Is she here?
Okay, so in flipped learning, basically the idea behind having a flipped classroom is the class time is used for discussion. The class time is used for solving the doubts or the preconceptions that students may be having. They might have some points that they've not understood clearly, but basically the resources are provided beforehand. It could be either a video or it could be a text resource, a reading material, which has been provided to the students. And then when they come to the actual synchronous classroom, what happens is there's a lot of discussion that happens. So students might have some questions for either their peers or the instructor. So there is peer learning also happening, because if I as a student have some question, some other fellow batchmate of mine may have an answer to that particular query. So that's how the discussion evolves, and the class time is basically used for resolving each other's queries and to have a discussion, a healthy discussion, and build the understanding, build make the concepts more clear and build the understanding. Yeah.
Lucien, anything to add about flipped learning?
I don't have much to add, but most has been said. But what I can say in a nutshell is, when you speak of flipped classroom, it's like, generally we say that you give the schoolwork to be done at home and homework to be done at school. So whenever you have activities, you give them activities to your students, and then they have to go and do them at their home. Then whenever they come to the class, they use the class time to be able to resolve all the problems that they might have while going through the activities that were given to them, maybe the previous day or before in the last lesson. So that's all.
Yeah, so I think everybody has given a different perspective, and in a way we've taken a couple of steps back. So I'll just go back to the very first thing. When in case you're not familiar with this term, for those of you who are not familiar, so when we say flipped learning, what exactly is being flipped? Flipped means something is, going up and something is coming down, or you shift left to right. So the idea is, let's do it in the context of a regular classroom, and then we'll come to the whole online system. In a regular classroom, usually in the face-to-face live class where there's one teacher and some students, 30, 50, 100, the information transmission happens within the class. And outside of the class, like Lucien also mentioned, students do homework, they do, like Sunita said, peer learning, all that happens outside of a class. That's the assimilation part. So this is sort of your regular or your mainstream learning. In flipped learning, it's the opposite. So students do information gathering outside of class, and in the class, they come and do assimilation by doing problem solving and discussion. Now that we have already moved into the online space, we are in fact doing a lot of flip learning ourselves here. I'm sure you're also doing it, because the moment we upload resources, we upload LEDs, LBDs, LXTs and all, those are what's happening, so to say, out of class, even though now the notion of a class is different. So all best practices of online asynchronous learning you can put as the out of class experience, and all best practices of synchronous learning like active learning, peer learning, is the in-class assimilation experience. So you can design any activities for your live synchronous sessions based on active learning or peer learning or whatever pedagogical strategies are sound, other than the straightforward information transmission. Yeah.
Okay, moving on to the next question. This is from Ashwin. We have come across little understood but quite real issue of screen fatigue. And based on that, if there is any suggestion on the fair time for a session, I believe there has to be a 10 minutes break after every 45 minutes.
Agreed with both your points. The screen fatigue and overall fatigue is real, as a not just as teachers or learners or as a country, but as a species, we are trying to deal with it at this point. These breaks that you suggest will help. The other thing is, I think all instructors this year are trying to not overload and overwhelm students with too much syllabus. So please try, if you can, whatever little flexibility you have, see if you can make it gentler, lesser and easier for students. If it means reducing your syllabus, go ahead. We just have to figure out. We are all in this game together, and I don't think the entire world has been doing online education for 6 months at a stretch before this period. So both your points are valid.
Okay, so the next one is from Vidya Sagar.
I think we've taken this.
Yeah. Can we minimize? Yeah, we have taken this storage issue. Lucian just talked about that. Okay, so that's all there. Coming back to our forum queries, the next one is from Sagar, who says, can we add some more interesting story-like real life situations, which may be more brainstorming or attention-seeking, which may be new, and it does not look like lesson. So my answer is yes, you can definitely.
So in fact, okay, we have a question back for you. This is a good idea, but what is difficult for instructors is to operationalize this. So if you have any suggestions, if you have done any examples yourself in a particular topic or subject, post it.
Yes.
So maybe one of our TAs can post this question on the forum again, bump it up at the top. And I think this is again by Mr. Vidyasagar, some V Sagar. Please post your own examples, and we can see if others can also do it. Because the more examples we have, that's when such suggestions are valuable.
All right. So another part to this question was how to add small reflection points in practical classes during online demonstration. Some of the ways that we could think of is, if the question is being understood right, is so you're doing an online demonstration, like a lab demonstration or something, and you want to insert reflection spots. So maybe, show some visuals, some simulations, and conduct a predict, observe, explain type of scenario, and give them Mentimeter poll to answer. Some of the ways that I can think of is these, but if anybody else has anything.
Again, all these suggestions we have been discussing in the course throughout for the last 4 weeks. But what is missing, even from our end, are actual examples in various topics. And we've been trying, but it's not possible for one instructor team to create examples in all topics. We have posted a few examples here and there. So for each of these things, if you, for your own subject, course, topic, paper, can give one example that here is a predict, observe, explain question for my topic, or here is a Mentimeter poll that I did in the previous live interaction and it worked very well. Those kind of inputs from you will be very valuable this for the participants this year, as well as when we offer the courses in subsequent years.
So please do that. We will post the question again on the discussion forum. So the next question is from Dr. Mrinal, and that is also being just covered. So maybe if you see, the video later, you will be able to get the answer to that.
Actually, this is a little specific also. Let's just
Sure.
see if we want to spend 1 minute on this, We have 4 lectures per week. How many should be dedicated to synchronous and asynchronous? Yeah. So the part which we did discuss is, really you have to take a call. But I have one thing to add. Please don't double the load for the students. In the sense, if you post a certain set of material for asynchronous use, you have to you have to analyze and estimate how many lectures equivalent that is, and whatever is left, do synchronous interactions for that. Because the danger is that we overdo it. We get so excited and we post a few videos. We say, well, they're really short, and we may post like 3 or 4 videos and do 4 lectures. So we just want to make sure that the total density of material is reasonable. That's the only point I wanted to add. Yeah.
Right.
We're seeing this problem come up. And I mean, I would not have been able to say this a month ago, but this is happening with our courses and our students. So this data has been coming from students that some instructors are doing that. So can we just make sure that between the synchronous and asynchronous, there is a equitable distribution?
Okay, moving on to some of the challenges that have come up on the forum after our last live interaction is peer learning, where a lot of learners are talking about, how to incorporate peer learning, and peer learning goes missing in online classes. And a lot of other peers have provided solutions to it, how probably you can apply proper LMS, maybe design case studies, and try setting up teams and challenges and collaboration efforts. So the gist of this particular challenge is that use appropriate technology support for collaboration, design effective collaborative tasks like case studies, presentations, projects where they have to actually, talk to each other and do work together. And the deliverables should be effective. Like they should know how they have to. It should be present. Maybe each one has to present something, and to ensure that each one is collaborating with each other, ask for individual contributions to the projects. Any other suggestions that we have for peer learning? Sunita, you have anything to add?
Yes, I would like to suggest some tools that we had also suggested in the last live session. I'd just like to repeat that one. So just to make it fun for the learners, if we give them collaborative activities where they can actually see each other and connect with each other, that actually helps them increase their engagement with the activities. So design such small activities where all the learners, they have something to contribute. It should not be like when you're forming a group of 4 or 5 people, only one person is doing something and the other people are just sitting idle or not doing anything. So if we can design some activities where each person in a group has something to contribute and they can come together and collaboratively work on one particular goal or completing one particular task, then that would be helpful. They can learn from each other and they'll also be engaged in the activity. So last time we had mentioned some tools like Miro board or some other collaborative tools such as Padlet. So that can be used. We also have Jamboard, Google Jamboard, that can be used for collaborative activities, and that helps in peer learning. There can also be peer learning, which happens when they're having offline discussions. So students can form small groups and they can have discussions. Not necessarily they can have discussion in the class itself, but they can have it offline also, and that will also help in developing their understanding and peer learning. So yes, designing such small activities that would help, I guess.
Okay, another elephant in the room is about online assessment. Yes, everybody has been talking about the challenges that we face on online assessment, and we would probably just acknowledge that it's a very big challenge and provide some suggestions, starting with Sunita.
Yes, so online assessment is indeed a challenge that we all are facing. So here are some options, some suggestions that we can think of. So if we are looking for formative assessments, which could be like small quizzes or small tests, which we are giving for the learners. So there are certain platforms that can be used. We can either use Google Form Quiz, which comes with the Google Classroom, your Google account. It can directly be used in the Google Classroom. You can just create a Google Form quiz and circulate it among. You can also keep the quiz graded. There are also other software such as TestMoz. So in TestMoz, you can create your own quiz, provided that it does not exceed a limit of say 50 questions. So TestMoz has a limit. If you're creating a free quiz, but it has to be within the limit of 50 questions. You can't add more than 50 questions for one free quiz, and you can't send that quiz to more than 100 people if you're using the free version. If you're using the paid version, obviously you can go for more benefits, but Testmoz is one such platform where you can create your own quizzes, and it provides you a variety of quiz types. You can use graded, ungraded, survey type of quizzes. You can form a repository. Quizzes is also another platform that can be used for this purpose. So quizzes, it has two types of dashboards which are provided. So one is teacher specific dashboard and the other one is student specific dashboard. So what happens is in quizzes, when you create your particular quiz, it generates a code for that quiz. That code can be given to students. Students can type in that code and they can access or they can attempt that quiz. You can also gamify the quizzes. So that's one option that is provided in quizzes. There are certain gamification elements which can be added. Quizzes also provides you an option of directly curating the quizzes that are already available. So if you're saying that you teach a subject, say chemistry, there might be some question banks which are already available on the platform. So you can directly take some quizzes from there. You can curate some questions from there and you can create your own quiz. And obviously, Moodle is, if you're using a learning management system such as Moodle, you can put your quizzes there. You can also use Kahoot. One of our learner had also posted about Kahoot on the discussion forum using Kahoot in his online classes. So you can also try that. And Mentimeter is another such option which can be used for formative assessment. If you're talking about summative assessment, yes, Google Form can also be used for this summative assessments, or you can outsource this on platforms which are helping for conducting proctored exams. So that those are some of the ways which can be used for online assessment. Vinita ma'am, can you please move to the next slide?
Sure.
Yeah. So here I would like to give an example of how online assessments can be conducted. This is just an example. We all can modify these examples as per our needs. So I'll just give you an example. So for example, if I am an instructor and I want to conduct an online assessment, I want to conduct a test. What I can do is I can give out the question paper to the students. I can ask the students to log into their respective Google documents, which they can be using as answer sheets. So your Google document would basically be your answer sheet where you're going to answer the questions. And the invigilator or the instructor can have the access to all these Google documents, wherein you can just monitor how the students are accessing those or how the students are editing those. And the students can also be asked to record their screen. So in that way, if you have a concern that how am I going to make sure that students are not cheating or they are not referring to other online platforms, they are not just Googling it and typing in the answers. So if you want to ensure that, what you can do is you can ask the students to record their screens so that they can't switch to other tabs when they are giving the exam. And on top of it, the other online meeting platforms such as Google Meet or team breakout rooms, they can be used to overall monitor this entire exam. So that's one example how we can conduct it. We can modify it as per our needs. So yeah, that's what I would say about online assessments. Over to you, Vinita ma'am.
Okay, I think Lucian, you had something to add on here.
Um, not much, Benita, but maybe to add on top of what Sunita said. So while designing all these online assessments, there are some of the things that we need to put into consideration. So one of the things that we need to put into consideration is to make sure that you have a purpose of designing your assessment. So you have to know why am I designing this assignment and which particular tool am I going to use to be able to achieve my target objective I want to make. But again, remember when we are designing our assessment, we have to make sure that we are aligning the tool we are using with the expected learning outcome. So the alignment should be in such a way that the intended objectives will be achieved or will be in some way achieved by using the technology we are using or the tools we are using as we select them. But again, while we are designing these assessment tools, I mean these assessment questions or activities, it's important that to be able to communicate your expectations, what you want, you expect from your students, how much you need them to deliver, and what is the deliverable at the end of the assessment when they're submitting. So if you put everything in order and they can be able to see what is expected, the alignment, and of course why this particular assessment is important, then you can be sure that your assessment will be achieved and you have a perfect assessment that is submitted from your students. So I just wanted to add on those 3 points. Thank you.
All right. Moving on. We had given some Elixir activities, based on the content that we have been uh, delivering. So the Elixir for week 2 was regarding insertion of reflection spots, and we have gotten really good um, submissions on varied topics with the reflection spots, and how you provided the feedback discussion on inserted uh, questions. So these are all the submissions, and there are more incoming every day. So if we have missed any, apologies. But so this is a screenshot to show that how elaboratively some of you have, very cleanly written that this is the reflection spot, this is the timestamp, this is the feedback. So and some of you have actually gone ahead and made your first LED.
Nice.
Yeah. And added reflection spot, did discussion on it. So it's really good to see that. One thing that we like to say is that, and a lot of you have also provided feedback to your peers, saying that if you would have done it, if you would have put the question here, it would have probably been more effective, and probably, have this kind of question. So the feedback provided are also constructive. One thing that we would like to add on here is that we have talked about rubrics in our course, and how you can use rubrics to evaluate open-ended problems, questions. So this is one of the rubric which you can use to evaluate your own reflection spots that you have created. We have shown 4 criteria. There can be more. Okay, so these criteria are: how have you positioned your own reflection spot? Is the positioning, by positioning we mean that, if there is a natural connect between the answer to the question. And as in a rubric there are 3 columns here. and meets expectation to, does not meet expectation. We've talked about rubric in the content, so I'm assuming you know what is rubric. Then the second criteria is nature of the reflection spot, where what ideally the target is that learners are required to pause and think about the kind of reflections, about the reflection spot. The kind of question should be that they should be able to reflect and think about it, do practice on what they have learned throughout the content video. Then the third construct is time required for answering the reflection spot. It should not be like a 30-minute activity that you give them. It should be a small reflection activity, and the feedback that we provide at the end of it. So I think the feedback that has been provided by many of you, you may want to just look at if it's matching to the target that we want you to achieve. So yeah, this you can probably use to evaluate yourself, evaluate your peers. Anything you want to add here?
That's good.
Okay, so Elixir week 3, we had asked you to come up with a strategy for your class. So Sunita will probably talk about it a little.
Yes. So in week 3 Elixir, we had asked our learners to come up with certain strategies, some pedagogical strategies, and certain implementation how those strategies can be implemented. So we had given a template, and a few of you have also posted their strategies which they have come up with. It is really nice to see all of you working so well and coming up with a plan to be implemented. So we acknowledge all the responses that we have received, and we'll just pick one to talk about. Vinita ma'am, could you please go to slide number 24? Slide number 24. Next.
It's just taking time to come up.
Okay. Okay. So we saw varied responses from different learners of this course who have taken like different courses and different topics, and we'll just pick one to talk about. So by the time it is coming up on screen, I just run you through the template that we had given. So the template had 5 different columns. Yeah, correct. The template had 5 columns in which we were asked to give the topic that we want to cover, what would be the time period of the class that you're planning for, what would be the learning strategies that you're planning to implement, and how do you plan to implement those strategies. And remarks, if any, like if you are anticipating any problems that you might face while you're implementing those strategies. So those were the 5 columns that we had given in the template, and you have fill out those templates and given like nice activities. So to pick one, I'll pick up a response by Dr. Rangarajan. So Dr. Rangarajan has submitted a response for a topic called as electromagnetic wave propagation. And sir has said that he is planning this session for a time period of 55 minutes. And I really like the fact that you have given a fair amount of activities, diverse activities, such as you start the online class with some presentation, a PPT which gives them a theoretical background. Then you move to animation to show the concept, which is otherwise difficult to visualize. So wave propagation might be difficult for the learners to visualize how it is happening and what exactly is happening. So he is saying that he will use a strategy of showing animation, how wave propagation actually happens. So that's a good way, that's a good strategy that you have mentioned. Then he talks about adding reflection points within the animation, and he also talks about adding quiz towards the end. So this is like a good set of having diverse activities to be conducted in an online class, especially when you have a class and you have the factors as concerns such as students not being engaged in the class or students having screen fatigue. So having a variety of activities does ensure the increasing or enhancing the engagement of learners to some extent. However, one point that I would like to point out is the implementation strategies or the procedures for implementation that you have mentioned. If you could elaborate a little more on those. For example, you say that I will give the overview of electromagnetic waves. So if you can elaborate, like you do it by giving some example, or will you conduct some activity, or will you ask for class responses? If you can elaborate a bit more on that, how are you going to implement in the classroom? That would be beneficial for other readers and other learners also, and it will help them to design such activities for their own context. So that's what I would like to point out. And the remarks, as you have correctly mentioned, sir, use of reflection questions, it will make the learners attentive in the class. So when the learners know that something is going to be asked and I need to answer some question, so that makes them pay attention to the class, and they kind of anticipate the questions which are to be followed. So this is overall a good strategy that you have been following. Just one point, if you can elaborate on the procedures, that would be amazing. Yeah. Thank you, Vinita.
Okay, thank you, Sunita. Um, okay, so that is the end of our slideshow, and we will close with the last question here. We've already answered Vidya Sagar's question on descriptive questions, how to. Sunita has already talked about how you can monitor online examination for those. So there is a question from Dr. Mrinal who's asking if students, maybe Sunita, if you can answer, if some students are asked to record screen while solving questions, does that mean they have to post recordings at the end to invigilator?
Yes, ma'am. It does mean that they may have to post a recording towards the end of the session, so that that recording will also be observed, and we can ensure that yes, students are not uh, loitering anywhere around, or they're not switching to other tabs. So just to ensure, yes, they will be asked to post the recording also.
So related to this online exams, no, especially the proctored exams, again there's a lot of experimentation happening. So there are apps which are available. There are some third-party apps. Then there are some companies which will do it. But regardless of what you choose, maybe I mean in some cases the instructor decides, but in many cases what's happening is that again at an institution level, some decision is being taken that for our institution, for the midterm exams, this is how the proctoring will be done. Maybe the decision is that every instructor uses their own technique also. But sometimes several institutions are again thinking about it because I mean, this is again an issue which we just have to face in one way or the other. And if you're part of the management or if you're a senior faculty member, see what you can, whether you can guide the instructors in your institute. And if you're a junior faculty member or something, check with your principal or HOD that as a department as a whole or as a college as a whole, is there some decision we can make? There are several vendors who might do it for a particular organization. There are also apps, essentially some way to proctor in a remote setting. And the examples Sunita gave are, what our colleagues are using. There's one camera here, one camera here. That's one model. The screen recording is another model. So options are beginning to become available.
All right, with that, we'll say bye bye to you guys, and please submit all your assignments and keep posting your queries on the discussion forum, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah. Thanks for the lively interactions on the forum, especially.
Yeah,
There's a lot of rich
yeah,
discussion. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Stop this.
Next, okay. Yeah.